Welcome back to another episode of the Me Kevin Show. Today we've got the Diamond Hands coffee mug. Boy, it was a crazy day in the stock market today. I mean, we went from like Tesla up like 4.5% to ending up like 1.3%. A lot of volatility, a lot of fear still about that recession coming. But we do have juice today, especially Cybertruck juice. Pretty excited about the Sandy Munro interview with Elon, or was it more the Sandy Munro discussion featuring a sideshow of Elon occasionally. But
the
anyway.
Elon Musk interview of Sandy Munro.
Yes. So let's jump right into that. Let's get to some of the best parts of the Sandy Munro interview. And we love Sandy. He's a great guy. He's been on our channel as well. He's fantastic. So let's take a look what he was able to glean from Elon. There's some really neat spoilers here potentially about that compact car coming. So we're going to talk about that as well as some other juice for Elon and Tesla and the Cybertruck and a bunch of other news that we'll cover as well. Later in the show, we'll also get into a little bit, just briefly, we'll hit on to some Trump, Biden, Israel, Hamas, and we'll also cover AI, X, and some other miscellaneous things. Keep in mind, we're still going live every day. The market is open at 5:25 a.m. for the Market Open live stream. It's usually about an hour, hour and a half every single day. And then this podcast, every day the market is open. We try to get this going between 3 to 5 p.m., sort of testing out little different time frames within that. So check this out when it's convenient for you, or come join us live. All right, so with that said, let's go ahead and get to the first Cybertruck clip with Mikey. Here we go.
All right, this is in response to why the Cybertruck took so long to make.
Juicy.
What was the biggest hold up? I mean, everybody's been, holding their breath for at least 4 years.
Yeah, this guy meet Kevin.
What really was the biggest challenge?
I think people sometimes forget, it's not like we're going to deliver the car in 2019. We announced the car in 2019. I think we sort of expected perhaps it would be in production in a couple of years later in 21 or something like that. There was a worldwide pandemic. Then there was a global chip shortage. And there were shortages of so many parts. It would be irrelevant for us to bring to market a car for which that we simply do not have parts to make.
Yeah. So that's a pretty good reason.
Yeah.
I mean,
it would add
no parts.
It would add complexity,
Yeah.
but we would not ship any incremental units.
And that's
It would actually make the company worse.
yes.
And that was his point.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a bad point. One thing that I think is so exciting about the Cybertruck is that, it is something that now we're actually expecting to roll off the line. I think back when they first announced, I think the Mach-E was basically a post-pandemic, or no, it was the Lightning truck. The Lightning truck was post-pandemic. And I mean, the amount of starts and stops they've had in production has been extremely frustrating. Throughout 2021, it was basically impossible to get your hands on it. And a lot of people wanted it because they thought, okay, finally, here's my Tesla alternative. I could get that vehicle to home charging before Tesla has it, which you have to give that to Ford. They were the first ones to actually get vehicle to home out. Now, in fairness, you also needed a $16,000 home inverter, which at that point, you may as well just buy the Tesla Powerwall for $8,000 because then you have a Powerwall as well, which has the inverter built in it. So obviously, the Tesla, probably a way better deal. Well, I should say obviously and probably. Those are a little contradictory. The Tesla one, obviously a greater deal in what I just broke down. However, I do think it's worth stacking up to see what Ford does in reaction. Is Ford going to double down, lower prices on their vehicle-to-home inverters? Is it something that that can be made more affordable so we can get more electric vehicles doing vehicle-to-home? I'm still seeing a lot of people, though, complain about range. I wanted you to touch on that because I think this is a great place to mention it. I was just sitting down with my father-in-law yesterday, and he's like, "Oh, well, if I want to take the Tesla up to NorCal because my brother-in-law, his son lives up there, I don't want to have range anxiety. I'm tired of range anxiety." I don't think most people understand how good the superchargers are. Mikey, you drive this commute regularly. What is it like commuting with a Tesla?
So in this particular drive, this is it's like 400-ish miles each way. I go from
About 420, eh?
Yeah. Nice. I go from the Sac area to down here in Ventura, and it depends on the speed that I travel at. If I go slow enough, I can make it with just one little brief stop.
That's like 75 slow enough, eh?
Yeah. So I think with 70 to 75, I can make it with one stop. I go just a little bit faster than that, and I do it in 2 stops.
Okay.
Mathematically, actually, I looked into it. The faster you go up to like 400 miles an hour, which is not possible, but like the faster the whole trip will be, even taking into account charging.
Oh, wow. So charging must not be that long then. I mean, like how long do you stop when you go charge?
15 minutes would be the average. Like sometimes
So if you
10.
do a one stop, you're only stopping for 15 minutes.
If I do the one stop, it's maybe closer to 20.
Have you ever had your battery run out?
One time.
Ooh, tell me about it.
This was my fault.
And how long ago was it? I've had mine run out too.
Oh, okay, you next. So this happened earlier this year. I was coming up from Coachella Valley area, so that was a much longer drive.
Yeah.
And I was driving. I had 3 other people in the car with me, and
They weighed you down. Blame them.
that was part of it. Like the weight. But so with the autopilot, or the navigation rather, takes into account all that. It takes into account weight. If you pay the premium subscription to have internet, it takes into account traffic, wind, and wind direction, and elevation, and all that stuff. And so it'll like adjust which stop you should stop at. So I'm driving, and it's like, you should stop at this stop. And then it adjusts and goes, no, stop at one like 20 miles earlier. And I was like, no, override.
Oh, no.
And because after you hit 0% battery, you still have some reserve in there.
Sure.
And so I was like, I'll tap into the reserve if I have to. I'll make it. But as I'm getting closer, it's like dawning on me, like, I'm not going to make it. And I'm already like past the point of no return. I'm halfway between both, right? And so it's like, all right, people are sleeping in the car. Maybe they won't notice. Turn off the AC, slow down, drive right behind the semi and just draft them, right? And right before I take the exit, it starts beeping at me. Pull over immediately, right? And I was like, no, I'm so close. I'm so close. And so I floor it, and flooring it's taking me like 25 miles an hour. I'm at the proper exit, going uphill. It slows down to like 15. And then it's like a downhill all the way to the lot. So I go in, I'm blasting through this parking lot. I can't tap the brake because I'm going to lose my momentum, right? And so I pull up right to the supercharger, and it won't let me put it in reverse. So I stuck it in tow mode, and one of the guys that was with me, I was like, you're pushing the car. Yeah. So crisis averted, but that was totally my fault.
Wow. Yeah, I think that's probably a common story. It's just the user error of getting familiar with the electric vehicles. And I mean, I've run out of gas in a car too, doing exactly that, where you're kind of like, let's draft behind somebody else, turn off the AC, crack the window a little so you don't die.
I was risking death, man. The windows were up.
That's funny. Yeah, mine died. It was I parked in my garage, and it had 40 miles left, and it was a cooler night. And the next morning at an appointment, I get in the car, and it literally says 0. And I'm like, what the hell? How did it lose 40 overnight?
Sentry?
Sentry mode.
Yeah, that's battery drain.
It kills your battery. So I think once you get used to like the pitfalls, like don't play the 0 game, stop a little earlier. There are plenty of chargers around, just like a gas station. Don't stress yourself out, right? And turn off Sentry mode. I think you shouldn't have range anxiety, eh?
No, I got too comfortable. This is totally my fault. It adjusted, and I was like, nope.
Yeah,
I know better than you, and I didn't.
Yeah, I don't know that it's like there are plenty of criticisms that people make, like, oh well, electric vehicles, are they really cleaner than gas cars because you have the battery production, which actually we covered the other day on the channel. We put up this great chart. Reuters had a fantastic thing. Day one, a Tesla is actually less clean than a Toyota Camry because of the battery production. But after about a year, depending on how many miles obviously you drive and how you charge the vehicle, whether you're charging from a grid that uses any hydro or renewable sources, will basically, the electric vehicle will be cleaner for the environment after 1 to 7 years. If you're charging with renewable sources, way cleaner after a year, and it's just constant benefits. If you're not charging from renewables and you're just charging from gas peaker plants, basically, after 7 years, for the rest of the life of that car, when it's in the used car market or whatever, you go on to sell it or whatever, that car will be cleaner than a nice vehicle, still using fossil fuels and incorporating the battery at the beginning. That I thought was really interesting, because adjusting for that battery is a fair criticism. But when you actually do the math, it's still cleaner. That was per Reuters, by the way. So I do think that's interesting. So a lot of the really strong anti-EV arguments, I think, are starting to really fall flat.
Oh yeah, and it's getting cleaner and cleaner every year.
Oh my gosh, just the amount of push for renewables. I mean,
Yeah.
really, that's what you're getting under the Biden admin is this push for renewables. Now, the problem is a lot of people are like, but that's causing inflation. Maybe, because we might be trending towards deflation. So if anything, it's like, it's good we have some money printing in a weird, perverted way. Is it weird that the government is basically going deeper into debt to keep stimulating the economy to some extent so we are not in a depression? I don't know. That would be interesting. The velocity of money, of government spending, much higher than our spending. We go spend money at a hot dog stand, 4-to-1 velocity of money usually. We have money in a savings account, 2-to-1. Government spends money, it's like 10-to-1. Probably because there's so much waste.
Oh yeah, no, that's definitely it, no doubt.
It's
no
the $150 hammers, you know? So I'm not here defending the spending on renewables. I'm just saying it is interesting to think if we didn't have all those government supported jobs at chips manufacturing, auto manufacturing, solar, whatever, all the grants and subsidies, I'd wonder if we'd already be in a recession.
That's a good question. Yeah, it's worth noting too. No cars are clean. Like it's just which is relatively less harmful, right?
Yeah, that's a good point. Okay, next Sandy Munro clip. Let's pull up the next clip. So this good old Sandy here. Let's see what we got.
And this is the spicy one with the $25,000 car.
Ooh.
The $25,000 Tesla. And so I'm wondering where is that exactly? Where are you with that?
Right behind us.
Unfortunately, because we're a publicly traded company, I cannot comment on things that would have a material impact on our financials.
Okay, well, there you go. Yeah, but anyways, I'm hoping that that's not too far down the line. I really would like to see something where we can, where like this one here. I'm told that the one that I'm looking for the Beast, the tri-motor and everything.
Yeah.
And I'd like to get 2 of those. And that vehicle is like $100+ grand. I think that that's the right price for this, but it's not the right price for the kid that wants to take one to college or whatnot. So that's why I'm kind of anxious to find out what it is that can be done for those others that want to get into electrification but can't. So if we can't do that, then let me shift gears. And what do you think about the new?
I can say a little bit. I just can't tell you, unit volume and dates because that has a mass. That is projecting the financials.
Can you pause for a second? You know what's funny here is Sandy didn't ask him again about the $25,000 car. Elon threw in the SEC disclaimer, basically. Well, I can't talk about non-public information. And then Sandy's like, oh, okay, so yeah, I mean, $100,000 is a little pricey, for the Cybertruck. And he's just sort of rambling. And then Elon's like, okay, well, let me tell you what I can say.
Yeah.
I love that. It's sort of like, I have the disclaimer out of the way, but I really want to leak it. Let's hear it.
So we obviously are working on a low-cost electric vehicle that will be made in very high volume. We're quite far advanced in that work.
Wow.
I review the production line plans for that every week.
Plans.
And I think the revolution in manufacturing that will be represented by that car will blow people's minds.
Yeah.
It is not like any car production line that anyone's ever seen.
Is this going to have the basically unboxed system, or would this be too much of a question to ask?
The thing that's most interesting about this is it's a production system. It's a level of production technology that is far in advance of any automotive plant on Earth.
I can hardly wait now.
Yeah, it's going to be cool.
It's going to be.
So this is incredible. I mean, first of all, just to quickly respond to a comment here, somebody's asking for notifications for this. If you download the Meet Kevin app in Android or on the iPhone App Store, the Apple App Store, we now have notifications going out every time we're live on any channel. So if you're tired of missing notifications, if YouTube isn't sending them all to you, you can download the app and then you can sign up for the notifications you want. So just type in Meet Kevin, Google, Apple, App Store, whatever you want. And then that way it's going to be easier for you to figure out where I am and when. Now, regarding this 25K vehicle line, I think it's interesting that he says, I reviewed the plans. You know, it seemed like there was a lot of circulating rumorville that they were already manufacturing, or that they already had some prototypes or whatever moving. I haven't heard that so far here, but it is nice to hear that at least plans are under the way, you know, and they seem to be advancing those, as well as this revolution of in manufacturing. It's worth noting, one of the first revolutions in manufacturing for the car was this giant gigapress, where we're pressing together, you know, instead of having 160 different welds for the back of, let's say, a Model 3, you're pressing it together and it's really just one hunk of metal. That's an incredible revolution alone. It requires a specific type of new alloy so it doesn't pretzel together, or actually Elon Musk called it potato chipping, potato chipping up after you press it. So they figured that out, and that's great. Since then, other companies, other auto manufacturers are like, okay, well, we want one of those presses as well. So they're adopting what Elon is doing. And so I see some people like, oh no, Elon, hurry up. The enemies are catching up, so to speak. But the reality is, when you're that first mover, you're usually already planning your next move just as other people are trying to catch up to you. It's kind of like people are like, oh, NVIDIA has an H100. Well, somebody else is just going to make a better one. Well, by the time somebody else comes out with a better one, NVIDIA is probably already 2, 3, 4 generations down the road. That's not to say eventually they won't be dethroned. Yes, eventually the new becomes the legacy. But for now, it sounds like, I mean, at least with what Elon's spoiling here, there are a lot of exciting things in the pike for Tesla. And last thing, and I want to hear your thoughts, Mikey, a lot of people, I see the frustration. They say, well, Kevin, Tesla's traded sideways for 3 years, and you know, Bitcoin's up this, or, you know, this penny stock's up, or whatever. And I'm like, that's great. That just increases the rubber band potential of Tesla, a company that, from a fundamental perspective, I feel comfortable in investing in. And if you didn't give me a Tesla price quote for the next 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, I don't care. I don't need the money. It don't matter. And I think that's the way to look at a long-term investment, is that I'm not worried about the next 5 years of what people are shouting in terms of the price. I have a feeling Tesla will probably, no guarantees obviously, outperform a lot of these other comparisons. But anyway, what do you think?
Let me play this for another 15 seconds here. There's one more thing in here.
Oh, okay.
He used to say, in matters of fashion, go with the flow. In matters of principle, stand like a rock.
Mm.
I'm going to end this with shaking your hand,
Nice.
thanking you for standing like a rock when you're sitting on a stage and someone is trying to humiliate you. I told everybody I won't go into this, and I'm not going to get all,
Sure.
you know, emotional and everything. But to me, I've watched that one clip that people have been putting out. To me, and putting up against, forgotten their name, Disneyland or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the day, I will never take my grandchildren ever to that place, ever.
Well,
And I
you have
think
to you have to wonder, what would Walt Disney think of the company that is his namesake today?
I'm telling you what.
I mean, I think Walt Disney's turning in his grave faster than a drill bit.
That's a good one.
I wanted to
I haven't heard that
before I
reference
close it.
before.
Yeah, faster than a drill bit.
That's great.
Regarding this, if we want to call it a Model 2 or whatever, the cheap car, Sandy Munro calls it a $25,000 Tesla because that's initially what we were told it's going to be.
Right, of course.
Did you notice Elon never called it that during this? He called it like a low-priced, high-production car.
Right.
So I'm wondering if either the pricing's not going to be $25K, whether it's going to be a little higher, possibly even a little lower, or if it's just a matter of Elon learning his lesson about throwing numbers out.
Ooh, that's a very good question. So, you know, what I think is so interesting and to compare to is, let's look at the Model 3 right now. So the Model 3, the cheapest one, because that'll help us answer this question. The cheapest Model 3 right now, $39K. Okay. So if we take $7,500 off of that, that brings us down to basically a sticker of $31,500. And then you have some state credits, like I think Colorado and California are giving up to potentially another $7,500.
That's so much. That's
It's
crazy.
insane. Yeah, it's the California Clean Vehicle Rebate, I think, is the California one. And they just closed applications on that one November 8th. So then it's probably just Colorado that's still doing it. But anyway, they were doing a good amount off. So if you take another $7K off 31.5, I mean, you're already at 25 just in credits, which is wild. So then I wonder, is it possible that you could potentially be at a $25,000 car for Tesla, and let's say it's a two-door, some kind of, I still think they should go smaller battery. Range option. What they're doing with the Cybertruck is actually fantastic. I think you literally list the car at, here's a $19,900 car. It's a two-door car with 150-mile range or something like that. Hey, wanna have another 100 miles of range to get to 250 or another 150 to get to 300? Buy the range extender. But this isn't supposed to be your long-range car. And even if you get the 150-mile range, guess what? You could just hop superchargers. So that, I think, is the direction that eventually will go. I know that feels wild to say now because of all the inflation we've seen, but with where the Model 3 is priced and the size of the battery and the fact that it's a four-door, I wouldn't be surprised if that would be literally a global game changer for cars. Is a two-door car that's $19,900 fully electric and that basically drives itself.
That would be amazing.
Yeah.
The other thing I noticed is Elon kept hinting about he would bring it back to the production of the cars. The production that's revolutionary. It's almost like he wanted to give Sandy a hint without giving him too much.
Yeah. Good point. Well, I mean, in order for them to really make money at that price range, it's obviously going to be cheaper than the 3. I think we can agree with that because just make the 3 more, or quite frankly, lower the price of the 3 a little bit more, and you're at a $34,000 car eventually. That's probably sort of where it belongs in the long run anyway. And okay, big deal. So now just make your profit off that, hopefully 15 to 20%. But in order to make profit off a $20,000 vehicle, especially with battery costs, I mean, that doesn't really go down that much. It's hard to lower the cost on that. 4680s are still not at full scale, so maybe eventually they'll get cheaper. But that would be where I would want to see. Can he basically two-part that car? Front cast, rear cast, two-door car, finished. Maybe there's some kind of revolution in there, but it's pure speculation, so we'll see. But that would be pretty revolutionary because now you're really affordable. Right now you're getting into the traditional Honda Civic, Toyota Camry kind of line. I mean, what's a basic Honda Civic cost these days? That was always the basic kind of car you got when you were 16 years old. And I don't know, back then it was 18 grand or something like that. I don't know what it costs anymore now for a new one. And there's been so much inflation. It's probably more. 24 now. See, look at that. The prices have gone up. That's a $25,000 car now, a Honda Civic. Honda Civic can do it. Why can't Tesla? If they can make money with a $23,950 starting price on a 2024 Civic sedan, why can't Tesla? That's where they got to get. They've got to be competitive in that $25,000 price range. The other one would be the Toyota Camry, or what's another good entry car, one of the Kias or
Corolla would be more comparable to a Civic, maybe.
Corolla. Okay,
Yeah.
I like that. You're right. Camry's the next one.
It's a little more Accord. Yeah, Camry.
That's
Accord.
fair. Yeah, that's true. Good comparison. I like that. 21,900. See, you got to compete with that audience.
Yeah.
You got to have parents who have their 16-year-olds getting their driver licenses saying, you know what, I want my son or daughter to have the safest car in the world because I remember when I was 16 and I was an idiot driver or whatever. They're like, I want the safest car in the world. I'm not going to buy a Toyota. I'm not going to buy a Civic. I'm going to buy the Model 2. If you compete in that world, you make 20 million vehicles a year. You actually fulfill the goal of sustainable energy.
How much are the the subcompacts, like the Honda Fit or the Toyota Yaris, the really small, cheap
That's
ones?
true. I mean, but then that, you know what? That actually, it's kind of countering my idea of this two-door car thing, because when I think about those, do people really want those? That's the other problem. In America, I don't know. In Europe, maybe. Toyota Yaris is discontinued.
I didn't know that.
That's interesting. That was a tiny four-door. They didn't even go two. I think I need to get off the idea of two doors. I don't think that's going to fly.
Yeah,
not in America.
Yeah, not in America. You're right.
That was a 4, and it couldn't even survive. What was the other one? The Honda Fit?
Yeah.
Honda Fit. That is incredible. I did not know that one died. Honda Fit. I mean, I can't even. Does that one not exist either anymore? Well, there would be a red flag. I don't think it exists anymore.
Interesting.
That is fascinating. The Honda Fit is a small car manufactured since 2001. Five-door by calling it a hatchback.
The trunk, yeah.
Well, it does say present production. I don't see it. But anyway, I'll go to honda.com and try to find it really quick. We'll just find like the cheapest car we've got. Honda Autos. Here we go. Oh, okay. Automobiles.honda.com. All right, the cheapest car. No, they just show the Civic.
Yeah, so they discontinue those then.
Yeah, or at least in America. You know what? I think I just basically, we just corrected myself here. The two-door tiny car is not going to fly. You have to manufacture, and maybe, I'm sure, I mean, Elon's brilliant. He studies this, as he should. He would already know this. So you have to be in the Civic Corolla camp, not in the Fit Yaris camp, because those failed.
They don't sell, yeah.
They don't sell.
Okay.
People just go for these, which makes sense.
So I was looking for one more clip regarding the $25,000 car, and someone in the comments pointed it out. This has to do with where production is going to be, which kind of gives us a little bit of insight into the timeline on this. Listen to this.
I think and I should point out that we will be making the first production line will be here in the Gigafactory in Texas, in this facility.
Oh, I thought it was going to be in Mexico or something.
That'll be the second place.
Oh, that's way cool.
It would take too long to complete the factory in Mexico.
Well, this place here.
That's the hint. It would take too long to finish the factory in Mexico. So before Giga Mexico, they're expecting to start production on this car at Giga Texas.
Yeah, at the very least, prototypes, I would say. And actually, I think that's smart. See, I used to say that Tesla should copy and paste the Gigafactories. Elon does not like that phrase. And so I've stopped saying that because I understand why now. I've been enlightened, and I agree with him. The reason you don't say copy and paste is because what you learn in one factory, you don't copy and paste to the next one. You don't carry your mistakes over. You refine. It's like taking the Word document, you hand it to somebody else, they refine it. You don't copy and paste the first version. You copy and paste the second version, the edited version. So my guess is that when they build Giga Mexico, they want to build that line already understanding where their challenges are going to be for the low-cost production vehicle in Texas. So you basically beta test it in Texas, or alpha test it, so to speak, the factory line, like literally go into the line floor. What works well? What doesn't? What challenges do we have? Then when we go build our new Gigafactory in Mexico, where we're really going to build this cheap, that's where we already know the pitfalls to avoid, and we design the factory around that. Somebody in the comments, by the way, suggested the Ford Fiesta. Can't even find that on the Ford website. All the cheap cars are gone.
Wow. I didn't know that.
Neither did I.
I wonder why.
But consumer preference, man.
Yeah, it must be.
There's an incredible thing in entrepreneurship that I always talk about is people get really stressed all the time about, this product isn't selling, or I'm not getting, I'm not doing well as a real estate agent, or whatever. Like you have some kind of frustration, or you have an idea and you're like, I have this really good idea. I think it'll work really well. The best feedback that you can get is the market. If the market buys your stuff, you know you're on the right track. If the market doesn't buy your stuff, you know you're on the wrong track. So I like anytime I have a new idea, it's like throw it out there. If nobody likes it, then don't do it. Then kill it. Then flip-flop. Like the market told you, F off. We don't want that.
That's actually what the expression "the customer is always right" is supposed to mean. Like people take it to mean like, if the customer's being abusive, you just got to take it because you work there and they're the customer. That's not what that phrase means.
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
It's like if you're a company that sells, I don't know, like washers, and everyone's coming and going, I want to buy a dryer. Guess what? Now you're a company that sells dryers. Like if you want to survive in the market.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's what that phrase is supposed to mean.
That's really interesting. Yeah. Instead of trying to force washers down their throat, just give them what they want.
Just give them dryers, yeah.
Yeah, give the people what they want. I think that's it's actually a beautiful thing about capitalism if you think about it. It's instant feedback.
Uh-huh.
It's fantastic. And so the point of that is relating to vehicles is clearly, like I ask myself sometimes, like, oh, I'm in a mall, which I rarely am, but I was just in one last week with Max because he wanted to go to the Lego store. And I saw their hours. And for like a Saturday night, the hours were 9 p.m. is when they were closing. And I'm like, oh, that seems like a missed opportunity. But then I realized if they were actually making a lot of money between 9 and 10 p.m. or there was demand to be open that late, they'd be open.
They would be.
They would be. Exactly. Yeah. Like if there was demand, if all of a sudden you got like this peak surge of zombie sales at 2 a.m. in the middle of the night, stores would be open at 2 a.m. in the middle of the night. The market has dictated when people shop. And that's just the collective decision of when people feel like going to the store. So I think it's fantastic. And so why don't we see those cars for sale? This doesn't make sense. Company either can't make money on it or people don't want them.
All right. Oh, and someone in the comments again thinks that it's not live because I typed and talked at the same time. Gonna blow your mind. I can actually walk and chew gum at the same time too. All right, let's move on here. They actually got pretty political towards the end of this interview here.
It's that Gil guy again.
It's McKay's biggest fan.
You know, he's here all the time. He's got like the red AMC eyes. You know, I think he's one of those people who's butthurt that I warned everybody about the APE conversion and I'm like, sell this. It's a dog. It's a ripoff. AMC's trying to rip you off. I tried warning everybody about that. Everyone got mad at me. And it's usually these red-eyed folks who get mad at me. And I'm like, bro, I'm sorry you're mad at me then, and now you're mad at me for some other reason. I'm just going to tell you my opinion, and what you choose to do is your problem. But it's interesting. He's always here. He's like a loyal angry.
I appreciate his enthusiasm and for being in the comments.
Thank you. Maybe the red eyes are like lasers at us. He's like, I love everything they say so much. Just foaming at the mouth. But yeah, download the Meet Kevin app. Leave a 5-star review. And now we're going to get our first 1-star.
Yeah. All right. So again, they get a little bit political here. So here's a little bit of.
Oh, is that it for Elon, or no? They're getting political.
Yeah, these guys are getting political.
On the Disney part. About rolling over in the grave. It's very interesting. Elon's probably not wrong. Disney's got a little poopy doopy situation going on right now, and it actually a little bit breaks my heart. Just because I think of my childhood, that Sandy's like, oh, I'll never take my children to Disney. I'm sad that Disney's, like, I'm not mad at Munro. I'm mad at Disney for mismanaging the company because they took what was such a vivid part of my childhood, and I have so much respect for you know, I mean, all the incredible different Disney movies, the OG stuff, you know. I mean, this is what I grew up on. And I feel like they're sort of ruining that and taking that away. And unfortunately, the less people demand going to the Disney theme parks, the less Disney is going to be able to innovate those theme parks, which means less newer rides, less newer movies, less new stuff. So you basically just slowly bleed Disney out. And then it's like, well, this is worthless to even go there anymore, you know? And that makes me sad because what theme parks do you really have? So you have Legoland, which... okay, it's good to go to once, but it's probably not something you go to so terribly frequently. Disneyland, Universal, you could go there pretty regularly. People stop going to Disney, you're down to Universal and like Islands of Adventures. What else? So you've got water parks that are only open for part of the year. You've got Six Flags, but I mean, and those are great. I love it. From like a thrill-seeking POV, that's great. But it's not really a theme park. It's like a roller coaster park, is my POV. Like, there's no real theme. I guess unless you say the theme is roller coasters, you can say that. But what do you really have for a kid, like a child, that 6 or 7-year-old's imagination? Islands of Adventure, where you have like the Hulk roller coaster in Florida. You know, a lot of cheeky ones that are like low star, low quality, or low reviewed ones. And then, of course, Universal and Disney. But again, if Disney dies, you're down to Universal and Islands as like your main theme parks. That makes me sad. I actually wish we had more theme parks.
I do like Six Flags. When I go down, I've only been to Disneyland a couple of times.
Magic Mountain, or where do you go?
For Six Flags?
Yeah.
I've gone, a couple. That one, and there's like another one in California somewhere that I've been to.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. But when I go down to Disneyland, I actually like California Adventure a little more.
Yeah. Okay, so wrapped up in the realm of Disney. Yeah, okay. But that's, I mean, Lightning McQueen, it's still Disney.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So
the Cars ride is amazing.
The Cars ride.
I love that. I got my little license there. That's great.
That's awesome. No, that is fantastic. But again, like, so you might not get another version of Cars because of people choosing to boycott Disney. And that makes me sad because the Cars ride is amazing. Like, I love when you go down that Cars section of California Adventure and you have like the kids riding the cows. You know, like the Moo Moo ride or whatever it is. It's for like preschoolers or whatever. But it's so cute. Like the whole thing is set up so great and so fantastic. My kids loved it, and they're like, "Oh my god!" Like, you know, I took Jack there when he was like 4, and he's like, "It's Lightning McQueen!" You know, he's like seizing up because it's like that was his thing. You know, it's like it makes me sad to think that stuff can go away. And so, like, who else is doing theme parks like that? You know, you have these one-off shows that do well, but a lot of kid content now is actually YouTube, which I'm not opposed to that, but YouTubers aren't making theme parks unless they're in Roblox. You know, like Roller Coaster Tycoon.
Mr. Beast should make one.
Yeah, but then you wonder, like, how much does it cost to build a theme park? I looked at the Indiana Jones ride in Disney. I think cost them like $1.2 billion.
Wow.
Like, how are you ever going to get investors for that and make money back? Like, you would make much more money just making YouTube videos, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Than trying to do like a
agree.
Mr. Beast theme park. I mean, maybe that's his future. I just look at it and I go, there's no way it could be profitable.
I do love Universal too. Universal's amazing.
No, I totally agree.
Yeah,
Universal's
but
very good.
you're right.
Yes.
I see your point overall.
But they're
You're
down
right.
to 1.
Yeah.
And then the problem is when you don't see right now, you go to California or Florida. They're all next to each other. You either go to Universal or Disney. Well, what happens when the competition dies? Universal becomes complacent and stops innovating. So it actually scums up Universal as well. Competition is the healthiest thing that we have in a capitalistic environment because it keeps you moving. If there was no competition, if there weren't other people calling up going, I want a GigaPress too, and basically trying to take Tesla's technology, Tesla wouldn't be motivated to innovate anymore because they wouldn't have to.
I agree. Yeah, this is one, like, even as a Tesla shareholder, when competition comes up, Ioniq actually, the Hyundai Ioniq is a relatively good SUV compared to the Model Y, which I'm surprised to say because I'm not a Hyundai fan. Mach-E, all these things, like the consumer wins, like production or productivity wins, like advancement in technology wins. So I'm always a fan for competition. I agree.
100%.
It's the best thing about capitalism.
All right, so you have another clip. Somebody right here. Oh, we got a comment about Animal Kingdom. Yep, another Disney. They have the Star Wars franchise that they killed. Well, I know that's like this. Honestly, the Star Wars theme park is phenomenal. The experience. If somebody watching has not gone to the Star Wars Disney, but now people might be like, I'm not going to Disney. You know, it's like, if you haven't gone to the Star Wars, it is so amazing at Disney. It's probably there's some of the best rides over there, especially the various different interactive exhibits they have for either build your robot, build your lightsaber, or go on the I can't remember what that one Star Wars Galactic ride is, but you're basically in an ET and they drive you around in this vehicle. It's amazing. But again, now I feel like I'm shilling Disney, and I'm not sponsored by Disney.
Aren't you short Disney? I'm just kidding.
I used to hold Disney stock. I sold them actually quite a bit ago. I played with them in the pandemic, and then I want to say I held them about a year ago, but I haven't had them for at least 8 to 10 months. Although their stock seems like it's starting to bottom a little bit. But anyway. Enough about Disney. So what else we got here?
All right. You want to go back to Sandy's interview on Sandy?
Yeah, let's see it.
I'd like to thank you. By the way, I've got one other thing.
Ooh.
Both of us are we're aliens, okay? Both of us, you came from Canada, and before that, South Africa. I came from Canada. And I found that Americans have kind of lost their way a little bit thinking about history. Huh. And there's this guy, Thomas Jefferson.
Sure.
And Thomas Jefferson used to say, in matters of fashion, go with the flow. In matters of principle, stand like a rock.
Yeah.
I'm going to end
this the full
shaking
version?
your hand,
Nice.
thanking you for standing like a rock.
This is the Disney
when
comment.
You're sitting on a stage and someone is trying to humiliate you. I told everybody I won't go into this, and I'm not going to get all emotional and everything, but to me, I've watched that one clip that people have been putting out. To me, and
is there
putting
more
up
to
against.
Yeah, let me
the
and I
you have
think
to you have to wonder what would Walt he's turning in his grave faster than
that,
a robot.
right?
Here we go.
I can't. Well, I'm telling you what. I believe that it won't take too much longer before somebody goes, hey, you know what? This is bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
We shouldn't be having this shovel down our throat any longer.
Mm-hmm.
And then there'll be a big change. But
Let
it
me
isn't
actually
going to
skip
happen.
just a minute here
It isn't going to happen next week.
to this.
If I hear that kind of stuff, we both chose this country. It wasn't
Right,
just
right,
a fluke
exactly.
that we got born here.
Right.
We came
Sandy's
here
from
because
Canada.
this was the land of opportunity.
Yes.
And
A
for me,
merit-based a country where you make progress based on your skill and
your ability to work. And
yeah,
that's,
and
that's
how if you're able to do very useful things, then you get ahead.
Yeah.
And feel like we're starting to lose that. It's a big
Wow.
concern.
starting. I'd say that we're getting real close to a watershed. And when that happens, it's very, very difficult to make the water go uphill. So I'm very, very, very nervous. I don't know why or how this has happened. That's not my area of expertise, but I do know what I see.
I want to try to figure that out. Like, I think some of these things started probably earlier than people realize.
I think when they started with the politically correct philosophy and whatnot,
Right.
I think that that's kind of like where it started, and now it's gotten so ridiculous that it ain't even funny, and I don't know how
And
that's going to
politically
change
correct
around.
is it's really just another way of saying, like, you have to lie to fit in.
Exactly.
And then more and more you have to lie to fit in. More and more lie to fit in. And eventually that sort of house of cards of lies will collapse.
It always does, and it always has. But when it collapses, who gets crushed? And is there any recovery from something like that? How damn dumb can people be? Well, we've watched it happen in the past.
And then he talks about other nations collapsing, how it comes from the inside, not the outside. But I liked Elon's point about the political correctness has kind of started to equate to having to lie to fit in.
Yeah, there are two things going on here. One is this, Sandy Munro talks about this watershed moment, and it sounds very like, I hate to say it, but it feels almost anti-American that I'm hearing this fear of like this collapse of society or whatever. I don't have that pessimistic of a view. So maybe I'm in the minority here, but I know people don't necessarily feel the best, or they're embarrassed to say that they feel okay in the economy because you're supposed to feel bad right now. That's actually a big deal right now. People in surveys, when they're asked, Harvard just did a survey on exactly this. When they're asked, how are you doing economically? You have a substantially higher percentage of people saying, oh, I'm doing just fine or better than I have been. But then when they're asked, how do you think the economy is doing? Their impression is way worse of the broader economy. So everyone's sort of feeling like things are a lot worse than they potentially are. I'm not that negative that I think all of a sudden the American entrepreneurial spirit is gone. I think what we're feeling is a very recessionary time. It's a time where we've gone through massive uncertainty fed by really horrible decisions that have been promoted by the government, whether that was the handling of the pandemic, the handling of money printing, the handling of vaccine information, the handling of politics like what Sandy's referring to about the promotion of how woke should things go in schools and this, that, or whatever, which partly many people blame on pandemic boredom. It's like, what can we start today? Because everybody's bored in the pandemic, right? So, and then obviously coming out of that, is inflation going to go away? Is this a repeat of the 70s? Is the dollar going to collapse? The amount of uncertainty that there has been in the last 3 years has been extreme. Absolutely extreme in terms of level of uncertainty. 3 years ago today, we were basically at the peak stock market. It's literally been down the last 3 years relative to 3 years ago today. We're just down. Everything's in the poop relative to then. So whatever success you had then, you probably have less of today. So of course that relativity gives everybody else their own feeling of sadness, but I don't know if that means all of a sudden the entrepreneurial spirit is dead. I think actually what you'll find is a lot of people are going to give up and roll over, but that's just going to pave the way to a new generation of entrepreneurs, or it doesn't necessarily have to be a new generation of entrepreneurs, the other entrepreneurs or the continuing entrepreneurs that then just basically are able to grow faster because there's a lot of competition in the way. So I don't agree with Sandy there. I don't see this as an existential crisis in American entrepreneurship. I disagree with that. Number two, what was the second thing he said? That was number one. The thing that he just said, the last thing he said was Oh, because the first was the watershed moment. I referred to that. And the last thing he said was, let's see, we have that on the video right there.
I'll pull up the transcript.
Oh, yeah, no worries. Okay, so, well, whatever. So, Adam, what's your take to what I just said? Am I missing anything on that?
Well, I agree with your take. I think Sandy, and someone kind of pointed out something similar in the comments here in our chat, is that Sandy kind of represents the opinion of a lot of older people, which I think might be the case, like being born at a different time and having that whole pull yourself up by the bootstraps mentality. So I can understand his perspective and where he's coming from, but and he actually a little bit later on ends up comparing it to like Nazi Germany even, and like
maybe we should keep listening then. Once we can find that part again, and we can keep listening again a little bit. In the meantime, somebody here argues. Somebody says. This is an interesting line. Entrepreneurship is changing from for-profit to actually trying to help shape. See, I think that's like, I mean, to be blunt, stupid. That it's. Sorry, Anthony. I'm literally saying what you are saying is stupid. It is an uneducated opinion. That's not how capitalism works. Capitalism rewards those who provide the most value with the most amount of money. It's that simple. I'm not saying there isn't fraud and deceit, and that needs to be dealt with. You know, the Binances and the FTXs or whatever, they need to be dealt with because they deceive and fraud and lie and cheat. You know, there's another one, the meme stock that everybody's going crazy over, Shot or whatever. They've got a bunch of allegedly people who used to work for Jordan Belfort at Stratton Oakmont, and they went from a CBD company. That didn't work out. So then they went to buying amusement park supply companies to sell amusement park supplies, to selling women's wellness products, sexual wellness problems, to now they're pitching Shot, which is a vitamin and mineral drink you can take that'll lower your blood alcohol content with a rigged study that they themselves did. And they SPAC'd, and now they're robbing investors blind of millions of dollars and paying themselves, $4 to $5 million of G&A expenses. So that's you can type in like Shot BAC or something like that. I think that's what it's called. Is that it? Shot BAC? I don't know. I can't find it right now. Well, anyway, we were covering that this morning. So that kind of stuff should die. And the market actually does kill that stuff off eventually. But to say that nonprofits are the only way you can actually provide good, I think is entirely wrong. I actually think a lot of nonprofits, and I'm not speaking for all of them, but I actually think a lot of nonprofits are simply established for people with a lot of money to have tax loopholes, put themselves on the board of nonprofits, and pay themselves fat salaries so they could donate to their own nonprofit, take a tax deduction, and then get it back via salary. So there's a lot of gaming that happens in the world. The easiest and most transparent way to know what kind of value is a company providing is look at their profit. Why is Microsoft one of the most valuable companies in the world? Why is Apple one of the most valuable companies in the world? Look at the value, the productivity, the compute power these companies provide us. Look at the value Amazon provides us. Should these companies not be entitled to make a profit? And remember that profit enables their employees to build wealth. When a startup builds profit, then it can list on a stock exchange, then it can pay stock-based compensation, and its employees can build wealth, and people can increase their net worth. Not only the people who work for the company, but the people who invested in the company and took a risk on that company, who many times previously may have taken losses on investments in companies. I've done VC investments before, and I lost money on them. I didn't make money on them. I lost all my money. So am I not entitled to a reward on another one, right? This idea of, people shouldn't be motivated by profit. Go to China then. Seriously, move to China. It is the stupidest thing I ever have heard, that people should be motivated by profit. If there is no motivation for profit, then enjoy having government housing that's not provided by corporate landlords who could do a better job than the government. That's why the government has the crappiest housing that I've ever seen. That's why they give vouchers to private enterprises and small landlords, because those landlords can have a reputation. They can get reviews on Yelp. And when they get reviews, people don't rent for them anymore. When you go to rent from an apartment building, you look up the reviews. Property manager sucks. Walls are thin. I hear every sound, every fart of the neighbor or whatever. That's capitalism working. If there's no motivation for profit, what motivation is there to actually improve the standard of living for people living in apartment buildings? People are like, corporate landlords shouldn't own real estate. Then where are you going to rent from? If you need a rent when you're a student or you're just getting started, you're moving out from your parents' house, where are you going to live? It's this aversion to profit. I will die on that hill, and I ain't going to die because it's the right answer. Everybody else is wrong. This is just so blatantly stupid. To argue that people should not be motivated by profit is highly moronic. The popular thing to say, that was the other thing Elon was saying, was you have to lie to fit in.
Yeah.
You want to fit in? Yeah, tell everybody corporate landlords are greedy, corporations are greedy, that's why we have inflation, and nobody should be motivated by profit. Go lie to yourself. You're going to fail. You will fail in America if you have that outlook.
Anthony's entire comment here is, where did I lost it now? But essentially that, I just had it. That we're going from for profit to like actually trying to help or whatever. And this goes back to, sure, the customer is always right. So we as a society can start demanding other things from companies, and then like those companies can pivot, their plan of action or whatever they're doing to try to appeal to that group of people to then sell. But it's still profit driven at the end of the day. It's we, the consumer, like we, the population, has to decide what we want and which companies we're going to support. From the perspective of that company, though, their job is to just follow the money.
Well, yeah, because the consumer is voting.
Yeah, essentially that. Yeah.
If Tesla announced the Cybertruck and nobody bought it, would they kill manufacturing? Should they kill manufacturing? If tomorrow every single person killed their Cybertruck order, should Tesla keep manufacturing the Cybertruck, or should they kill it?
Elon, he would manufacture it anyway. But I understand your sentiment, and I agree.
Yeah. So not only that, I see Scott Downer here. No, that's not actually his name. But he's like, but what about Evergrande? So, well, that's the example of the failure of developing attempts at capitalism that are skewed by Communist Party incentives, right? So think about Evergrande. You have a government that's basically like, build as much real estate as you can. The government perverted the free market. Evergrande wasn't actually building homes for people to live in it. They were building homes for ghost cities because that's what the Chinese Communist Party wanted. There was a lack of capitalism. So it actually reiterates my point. Now, that's not to say that at the beginning of when you actually become capitalistic, companies aren't going to fail. There isn't going to be failure and fraud and deceit and problems. But that's normal. Failure is normal in capitalism. That's how capitalism corrects itself. That's how problems get rooted out. But, when you look at Evergrande, you have to think, government's basically like, take on as much money as you'd want, take on as much debt as you can, just go build. Go build, because it's great for GDP. That's why real estate all of a sudden is 30% of the economy. Then all of a sudden the CCP is like, JK, we don't want you to borrow more than 80% debt to income or debt to assets. And they're like, bro, we've been borrowing at 120% of our assets. Like, we are way over leveraged. You can't rug pull us like that. Sorry, we just did. We're the CCP. What you gonna do, bitch? And so what do they do? Okay, well, I guess we can't pay our contractors anymore. Boom, those buildings stop construction. All those people lose their deposits on homes that they bought. All of a sudden, real estate values plummet because people are buying properties that aren't getting finished, so people aren't buying properties anymore. So now you have a real estate market correction, which then starts the dominoes of the other indebted companies also going bankrupt. This is fully manufactured by a defrauding or like a government screwing with capitalism. If that was a truly capitalistic situation, you would have probably never had an Evergrande. It would have never grown to that size because no bank would have in their right mind lent to Evergrande at 120x or 1.2x their actual underlying assets. Here, one of the reasons home builders are like, we need to sell these homes in phase 2 is so the bank will release more money to the builder so the builder can build phase 3. That's why we have home construction phases. That's why home builders don't build 150 homes all at the same time. It's because the money is getting dripped out by the bank because the bank is a capitalistic institution in America that's like, let's see if you're legit. Here's a little bit first. And then if they get screwed, they're like, no. They don't give any more money. It's that simple. I don't know.
That was a good rant.
Thank you.
There's a minute and a half left of this. Do you want to watch that or do you want to move on?
Let's watch it.
Let's watch it.
It's really just another way of saying, like, you have to lie to fit in.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And then more and more you have to lie to fit in. More and more lie to fit in. And eventually that sort of house of cards of lies will collapse.
It always does, and it always has. But when it collapses, who gets crushed? And is there any recovery from something like that? How damn dumb can people be? Well, we've watched it happen in the past. People who read history have watched the Roman Empire collapse, the Greeks, the Egyptians.
Yeah.
I mean, show me a nation, show me a civilization, I should say, and I'll show you, hey, that collapsed. And why did it collapse? Well, because the people went stupid, or they spent more time watching what's going on at the circus as opposed to watching what was happening in their backyard. I mean,
yes, very few empires collapsed simply due to external forces. They first defeated themselves from within.
Exactly. Yeah. The only way to lose in the United States will be if we tear it down from the inside, and it seems to me anyway that there's a lot of that stuff going on right now. So
yes.
Too much Twitter, man.
I suspect things will come to a head in the not too distant future.
I hope you're right,
Next
and it moves in the right direction. But
next year's going to be something else.
Yeah, no, that's the truth too. Yeah. So anyway, I know your son needs to get to bed.
Yeah.
And
all right.
So I guess the Nazi Germany comment was a little bit earlier.
Yeah, that's all right. It's I think they're reading too much Twitter. X. People get mad at me when I say X.
Yeah, they do.
But like, you got to balance out a little bit. It like the stuff that the algo promotes on X is very cynical. And don't get me wrong, I use it. Okay, I'm on X. I like it, but I have to be very, very careful. I have to sort of self-moderate. It's like, I don't know what to compare it to. It's kind of like alcohol. Like, you too much and you just start vomiting and you feel miserable. You feel like a horrible person. A little bit, and it's like, I feel like I got some perspective. You know, I learned some stuff. And it might not be the best perspective. You're still going to do stupid stuff with that information, just like alcohol. You know, and I feel like TikTok's probably more like marijuana. I don't know. Maybe bad analogies here.
I don't understand that analogy.
Which is funny. Like, I don't laugh on Twitter. On Twitter, I feel like depressed. And you know, TikTok's funny. It's comedy. That's what does really well on TikTok. It's comedy. It's just the stupidest, simple sense of humor, like put you to sleep, laugh out loud, funny stuff. It's a free comedy show every night if you want. I don't use it because I just never go to sleep. I don't use it anymore, but I used to, and it was bad because I'd sit there and it's just like thumbing for like an hour, and I'm like, what the hell did I just do the last hour? Well, I laughed, but that's about it.
Well, then speaking of X, let's look at a couple of people's reactions to the interview here. This was a common consensus that Sandy talked too much, so Elon could have been a cardboard cutout. Sandy did all the talking.
Yeah.
And then we got overall great interview, but it was more like Elon interviewing Munro.
Yeah.
Okay. We have the only reason Elon doesn't talk much about the next gen vehicles because he doesn't want to. The future guidance stuff was just the official excuse. I feel like, I don't know if I agree with this. I feel like Elon actually wanted to say more, but knows that he can't or shouldn't.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's a tough balance. I mean, he clearly says they have manufacturing plans. Okay, so if you have plans, you already know how many castings is going to be. That would be in the plans. That'd be pretty material. You know, if he said in that interview, we figured out how to make a car with, I'm going to go extreme here. We figured out how to make a car in one stamp. One casting. Boom, Model 2. Like, obviously, then you put the doors on and the wheel on and the motors in and stuff. But that would be insane. That would be groundbreaking and revolutionary. So, yeah, I think there's a balance where, and maybe they haven't even really prototyped that plan yet. Remember, a plan could just be a drawing on a piece of paper.
He says he reviews it every week. So, I don't know, must be a good drawing.
I mean, it's kind of, I don't know. It's kind of like people who review their goal, like to be a billionaire. It's like, I review my plan to be a billionaire every week. But then where's the execution? And I think the execution is probably what's more important. And it's probably good for him to constrain himself or restrain himself. It's a difference. Restrain is like a seatbelt. It restrains you.
Right, like hold me back. Constrain.
Slight
to limit?
Difference to limit. Yeah, you might be right. Like restrain may be physical and constrain, I don't know.
English is both of our second language, right?
yeah,
it actually is.
We're ESOL.
ESOL.
English as a second language? Isn't that what that is?
ESL.
ESL. Oh, that's
English as a second language. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Anyway.
All right. One more, just speaking of like the Model 2, although I like Gil's comment that it should be called the Model 69. After watching the Sandy and Elon interview, it seems to me that the 25K car will be built by Optimus.
Yeah, I doubt that.
All right. That's your take on that. Cool.
We're not close. I mean, maybe I'll do one thing, but like, what are you going to do? Like, what? I mean, what do you need an Optimus for that you can't? And this is what I'm trying to figure out. What do you need an Optimus for that you can't put, the vehicle basically on a conveyor belt and just have the giant arms come in and do? I don't think it's going to be advanced enough yet to do interior stuff, wiring architecture. That's hard. You know where the Optimus would be perfect, which is not what Elon's doing right now. Well, maybe for like unloading a truck. Unloading a truck. Here, are boxes of 4680s. Walk them from that semi-truck to the line. Perfect. It's literally stupid proof. Or Amazon, like put object in box, close box, and tape it. That. But I don't know about actually manufacturing the car, how particularly useful. TBD. Yeah, we'll see. They'll figure it out.
Yeah, Amazon should definitely use Optimus. They would save like $8 an hour for...
Now it's like 20. Isn't it crazy?
For Amazon?
$8 an hour? Like, yeah, they're paying like $20 an hour just to...
Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like,
That's more than I thought.
Yeah, it's almost kind of like, why would you drive Uber? I mean, isn't that what people are making now on Uber, like $20 an hour?
Dude, it's nothing. I drove from here-ish to LAX the other night.
Yeah.
I paid $90 for that one. And I asked the driver, I'm like, how much are you making? He said, almost 40 from that drive.
And it probably took 2 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he had to pay gas.
Yeah.
So it's $40 minus 100 miles worth of gas. So take off, 30 miles a gallon, 100 miles or whatever it is. So 3 gallons, take off 3 gallons. So call it $13. So now you're making $27. So he's making $27 for 2 hours. And he may have ended up far away from his home.
Yeah. On the bright side, I left him at LAX where people pay a premium to get a ride. But yes.
That is true. That's true. And maybe a tip or whatever, right?
Yeah, I tipped him, of course.
Oh, but still, I mean, like, so what? Yeah, I mean, for $20 an hour, that's when you're driving. Like, you're better off working at Amazon Fulfillment, making $20 an hour and getting benefits. Now you're not an independent contractor.
Peeing in a bottle. And peeing in a bottle.
Yeah, right, because they don't let you off the line. But think about, like, there's some benefits to actually being an employee that people forget. The employer is paying half of your self-employment taxes. Well, because you're not self-employed at that point. So they're paying like 7.5%. So $20 an hour is probably more like $21.60 an hour or something like that, which you're paying yourself when you're self-employed. So then you're paying your gas, your vehicle insurance, the depreciation on the car, the damage to the car if somebody beats it up or vomits in it or whatever. Quite frankly, I would rather be in a factory listening to headphones and a podcast than making fake BS small talk with people on an Uber. I don't know, everybody's different, but it would just BS small talk. I can't do it. Like, I have a hard time going to parties for that reason. Like, I like going partying with friends. That's fun. But I hate like the we're opening a new bank. We would love you to come to our cocktail mixer. People are like, hi, here's my business card. I'm Sean. What's your name? Fuck.
Yeah, it's exhausting. It's exhausting. I get that.
I can't do that. All right, what else?
Okay. Well, one more while we're on the topic of EVs here. I found out that Detroit has installed an EV wireless charging.
Oh, I thought you were going to say police force. Okay.
Yeah. Wireless charging public roadway. It's a 1/4-mile stretch of road, and it's supposed to activate when a car with a receiver drives over it, and they're going to be using it next year. And we talked a little bit about like Ford's cars earlier. When they unveiled their F-150 Lightning, they also came out with like some performance version of the Mach-E. They came out with an electric cargo van then too, the electric Transit. And I haven't heard much about that since then, but I thought that was the coolest thing from that release. So this is built specifically for those cars, and I want you to see this and tell me your thoughts.
Really focus on purpose and determination and really making sure that we continue to put the state at the forefront of the future of mobility and electrification.
this project is because we've had a lot of partners and friends that have joined Electron in the arena of innovation.
The cheesy
that
corporate
didn't accept
music.
No for an answer. The first
So you
mile
get demoned on this.
concrete road was paved here, close to here.
No, this sounds like
in
royalty-free
Woodward
shit.
Avenue, 1909. And here we are together today to actually celebrate the nation's first electric roadway here in Detroit.
Nope, that's it.
I mean, I think you've seen everything you need to see for this, but what are your thoughts on the wireless charging? Like if we were to do this?
Well, it's a terrible idea. It's a horrible idea.
I agree, but elaborate.
It was right. So, okay, let's come up with an example. You charge your phone. You're looking at about 85 to 90% of the power that is going from your wall is actually going into your phone's battery. You put it on a wireless charger, you're maybe at 65 to 70%. So your net loss that's just turning into a little heater for space is massive. And you do that at the scale of automobiles, stupid. At this point, like all it does is contribute to the green transition is stupid. Like you are, it's like you're throwing an ice engine back. I mean, it's not that bad, but because those are like 20% efficient.
Yeah.
But it's going in that direction. It's going in the wrong direction. Induction charging isn't there yet. You know, it's convenient for your phones. It's convenient for your toothbrush. You know, you put your toothbrush on a little induction charger. But those have been out for 20 years. Induction charging isn't that revolutionary. They're induction cooktops, which are actually really good. But that's also because with the induction cooktop, well, with induction in general, range is very, very important. Like the distance from where the source is, where the coil is, basically, to where the battery or the inductive surface is. When you use an iron pan on an induction cooktop, it's like right on it. And what you want is heat. The point is to use the heat to cook. So you want that resistance to be in that pot and pan, so you heat. But you don't really want heat on your roadways. You don't want, I mean, the amount of maintenance that's going to go into this when those stupid things, when people change lanes or whatever, and almost certainly damage the connectivity between them, and all of a sudden, oh, that section's down, and now because that section's down, the whole section's down. I don't know. I'm sure there are like breaks and things you can do, you know, third rails to keep things connected the way you wire. Kind of like when you do Christmas lights. You know, they sell you the more expensive ones where like when one light bulb goes out, they don't all go out.
Yeah.
You know? So that's like series versus parallel wiring and stuff. But anyway, I don't think, I mean, think about it. The cars aren't going to be touching that surface. Duh. So your efficiency loss is going to be even worse. Your iPhone is sandwiched on the conductive charger. Your induction cooktop is right on your right under your pan. A car is going to be at least a foot away. You're probably down to 20% efficiency.
It's finally going to be practical to get low-profile tires and just absolutely slam that car, though.
That's interesting.
Well, yeah, I was thinking about like the cost for it and the cost for repairs and just maintenance overall. I don't know if it's going to be a net positive. At the end of the day, like you're getting such a small amount of charge. It makes more sense for me if Detroit were to invest in like public charging stations instead of the roadways.
And the charging stations are like, and who really stays in one lane that long? You know, I mean, like a semi-truck, but you shouldn't be in the far left lane anyway. So what are you going to now put them in all the lanes? Or do you have to re-engineer all the highways to have those charging lines? And at that point, it's like the trucker's got to stop at some point too to take a break unless you get to fully autonomous. But at some point, you got to load the truck too. Charge it then. I don't know. This is bullcrap. This is stupid.
Well, I've got one interesting topic I really do want to cover. This is touching on Israel and Hamas stuff. So totally changing gears here. Changing gears because we're talking about cars.
Let's do it.
Okay. So this is, I saw this published on CNN. A couple other sources published it too, but it was...
You said CNN. We can't listen to it.
I know. Everyone's going to start on the comments. CNN's so biased, which they are, but... You know,
take it for what it's worth.
Take it for what it's worth. Like there's still some value there. But this has to do with traders possibly having some insider information on the October 7th attacks before they happened.
I mean, frankly, it seemed like Egypt knew, the CIA knew, people knew these attacks were coming. It still blows my mind that it ended up being able to happen. I think it must just be one of those things where it's like the boy who cried wolf. It's like, oh, okay, another alert from the border. Okay, what's going? Oh, let me guess, rockets this time. All right, whatever. Call me next week when I get another report. I think it was just complacency.
Well, traders didn't seem to think it was boy who cried wolf on
That's
this
a good
one.
point. That's a really good point. Why did they make bets then? Tell me about that.
So this is from this paper has not been peer reviewed.
Okay.
So worth noting that too. But a couple university professors sat down and found what they called significant and unusual spikes in shorts 5 days before the attacks happened. So it's the value. Specifically, we have a couple examples. MSCI, Israel Exchange Traded Fund, right? Their ETF. So they said that the shorts far exceeded normal shorting activity, even compared to COVID-19 pandemic or the 2014 Israel-Gaza war and the 2008 global financial crisis. And on October 2nd, again, this is 5 days before the attack, nearly 100% of off-exchange trading volume in the MSCI Israel ETF consisted of short sellings.
That's going to be when it's off exchange, you're looking at like dark pools and basically just institutional trading. So institutions were tipped off to this. And they knew, which is really interesting because, this is put together by, this preliminary research is from Columbia University and NYU, New York University. Both, I mean, I know like college and everything's gone, like, people are like, college, woke and all this. My dream was to go to either of those schools. So I wanted to be in New York. I wanted to be in Manhattan. So this is kind of cool. But it doesn't surprise me that they are investigating this. And the MSCI, I mean, you have these for everything. You have MSCI World, China. It's basically just an ETF for getting exposure to that country. And so essentially you're saying traders in America, institutional traders clearly, since they're off exchange, were loading up on shorts in the days before the attack. Now, did the MSCI Israel actually fall during the attacks? That would be interesting. I'm just gonna type in MSCI Israel stock. Oh yeah, it certainly did.
Drag that. How much of a drop is that?
14.5%.
And that's right after October 7th?
Yep. Literally October 6th, because the attack was on the 7th of Saturday.
Right.
Down to October 27th, which is when they bottomed, actually down 17.4% in a span of 3 weeks. You would have printed.
It also shows one of Israel's largest banks. Between September 14th and October 5th, 4.4 million new shares sold short, and the price of that tumbled 23% between October 4th and October 23rd. So, I'm kind of curious how I can understand the boy that cried wolf argument, if not for the fact that all of these institutional investors seem to take it seriously and short the stock and make big bucks off it.
Very interesting, because they got a 6% front run, because had you shorted it on the next trading day, it would have already been down 6.4%, but it would have fallen yet another 12%. So the front runners got an extra 6% out of people there. But that's what pisses people off, is that institutions on Wall Street get this kind of stuff. But then again, like, is it technically illegal? I mean, like, if your buddy, called you up from Israel, let's say you had a buddy in the military or whatever, it's like, this shoot's about to hit the fan or whatever, and then you make sure. Is that theoretically illegal? I don't think it is. It's not a publicly listed company. It's not, it's insider political information, but I don't think that's insider securities information.
I don't think it's illegal in any way. I'm thinking more so that, if Israel knew about it, they're definitely making it seem like they didn't, whereas, like, who else would be tipping off the US, right?
And that's the more concerning part, is like, why was the Israeli military so blind to this? That's why you have some people, which people get mad at me when I even bring up this idea, but whatever, people get mad at me all day long anyway. So that's why some people are like, well, Israel needed the catalyst.
What if it was people in military in Gaza calling up the U.S. going, hey, you guys might want to start short selling. We got a big surprise. I don't think it's that, but...
Actually, I think you're right.
Really?
You think people work for the CIA to make $40,000 a year?
No, they do it because they love their country.
Right.
Glad you got the joke.
Okay. All right. Anything else?
Well, how much more time do we have here?
I don't know. Maybe we'll do like one more thing here or something. Let's get out of here.
All right. One more thing, and then we'll get out of here. Let's end it on a fun one. I love the AI stuff, so I want to cover some AI stuff.
All right.
This is what's new in AI. All right. I got this on my screen. So video getting closer and closer to that Hollywood level disruption, as said here. So here's what we saw in the last week as far as AI. So we talked a little bit about Pika and I think we actually saw this particular Pika video. I'm still on the waiting list. I really want to get into Pika.
It's probably not a real product yet.
Look at this.
Sorry, I'm jaded. Think about it. How you could edit the crap out of actually RuneScape. You could edit the crap out of this and imply that your AI did all of it.
Yeah.
And then it actually didn't, just to get all the signups. That's fraudulent, but it wouldn't surprise me. Think about all the funding they can get with that, the VC funding they can get with that. They do a video like that. It's totally edited. Let's just say theoretically. Let's go dirty. Let's go sinister here for a moment. It's a total fraud. It's totally edited together, and this is just hypothetical, of course. Total fraud, totally edited together. You say your AI did it. You have a beta list. You get 100,000 signups of people who are interested in maybe paying $20 a month or whatever. Okay, so let's think about that. 100,000 signups. At $20 a month times 12, that's $24 million a year of gross sales. VC might value you at 10x sales, $240 million company overnight. So now you go to VCs, you want in? We'll sell you shares for $400 million.
We did see when cryptocurrency was booming on that last run a few years ago, there were a lot of legitimate businesses started, but there were also a lot of scams because that was the time to do it. And so now I'm starting to see the AI revolution specifically with video and imagery. And so you're right, this would be the time to do that kind of stuff.
With that jade out of the way,
look at this one. This is an AI upscale tool that enhances any image for higher quality. Look at this.
I don't want high quality. I like the original form.
Yeah, me too. I like the Cybertruck titties.
Well, it just reminds me of RuneScape. Like, I don't like that one as much. Yeah, it's better.
Okay. Some more upscaling. Just look at these upscales. I've also been using a couple, I've tried NVIDIA, some of their stuff. I use a lot of Topaz AI's products for upscaling. A lot of this is really cool stuff, but
yeah.
I think that's just
cool.
so
That's
cool.
actually really nice. Wow. Yeah, that is really cool. Jeez, wow.
Right? It goes from GTA 5 graphics to GTA 6.
Yeah. Not bad. That's not bad. Okay, that's pretty cool. Okay.
This is a little more akin to NVIDIA's drawing stuff, which we've seen this kind of stuff before. There's, I think, one more good one in here. No, I guess not. That was all I had to show with AI. Maybe by next week we'll finally get to that Hollywood movie level.
Yeah.
I'll let you know when I get into Pika, man. You said, yeah,
I'm very skeptical.
A beta list.
Highly skeptical. And I'm also getting more and more pissed off by GPT lately.
Really?
It's stupid. And I'm on 4, and I'll ask it something for this my final test, the Series 27. I'm like,
next week?
Next week, yeah. When the SMA, the special memorandum account for margin accounts, basically, we know the SMA can go up for when market value increases in stocks. Can it go down when market value goes down? And it's like, yes, of course it can go down when market value goes down. And I asked that on purpose because I'm like, that would be like the assumed thing, but it's wrong. SMA does not go down when the market value of your securities goes down. And that's actually a testable question. So you could fail a test just studying with GPT because it's trying to guess what sounds reasonable. So then I took the actual code or the rule of procedures from FINRA, the code of procedures, they call it the COP, or whatever. You take the rules and you throw it in and then it's like, oh, my apologies. Yes, it can't actually go down with market value. And you're like, what good are you? So lately, I don't know if it's just because I'm in test mode and maybe this is a little more arcane and more technical. But then I go. It used to be that I'd go into 3.5 and I'd want to use it as a calculator, and it would give me an answer right away. Now it gives me the purple pinwheel.
3.5 does.
And 4.0, both of them.
I know 4 do, but I didn't know or 4 do.
Oh, does? Maybe I'm always stuck on 4 then. I have to check. But anyway, when I do my math, my answer is, so currently I always use 4, but I remember back when I was using probably 3.5 before 4, it would always give me my ansers right away.
Yeah,
it was fast.
Yep.
And now I'm getting the purple pinwheel. I mean, we could try it really quick. The purple pinwheel, and it's so annoying. It's like I could have calculated it out already by now. So I'll do 500 divided by 72 times 69,420. 3.5. See, analyzing. Look at that. Analyzing. It's not that hard.
You're on 4. You're on GPT-4.
Oh, it went back to 4. See, I started on 3.5.
Because I just asked 3.5 a question, it spit out an answer instantly.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, maybe that's the thing then.
The
You're
downside-
right. You're right.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay, 3.5 still does it. Okay, so for math, then just use 3.5. You're right. Okay. All right, that's fair.
It's a little bit older
That's
of
fair.
info, which is the downside, but it spits out an answer right away.
You're correct me on that. Okay, fine. Then my only criticism is that the factualness, you still have to fact check it. Which if you still have to fact check it, then what's the point? So what I do like using it for, though, is like it's almost like another human that you can have a conversation with where you're like, I'm not going to believe everything you're saying, but if you can give me a different perspective, then I could choose to adopt that or not. So I kind of treat GPT more like a human than I do a thesaurus. Does that make sense?
Yes, I agree. I just
Or an
wish
encyclopedia is the word. That's what. Yeah.
I wish it would tell you, like, within margin of error how sure it is of something. Like,
Yes.
it'd be nice if it was like, I'm 60% sure and here's my answer. You could be like, okay, that's not good enough.
Yeah.
Whereas-
And here's where I'm looking.
Yeah, whereas right now it's so confident it'll just, like,
The gaslighting.
2 + 2 = 5. And
Yeah.
It just sounds confident, but I wish it would give me, like, a margin of error on that.
I agree. I like
Anyway.
that. Somebody here, I've heard that Series 7 is actually one of the hardest tests in the U.S. No.
What about as far as FINRA exams?
Yeah, no. So, by far, so far, the 24 and 27, which are the supervisor exams of the Series 7, substantially harder. Which I joke about the Series 7. I'm like, I didn't know that the Series 7 was actually 7 tests. It's not, but
How long is it?
Well, no, it's like 3 hours long. It's the 7's not that big of a deal.
about the same,
But
yeah.
it's because I'm looking at it like when I get done with this last test, I'll have done the 63, 65, SIE, 7, 14, 24, 27. Where's the other one? I'm missing one. There's one I'm missing. Anyway, I've taken 7. That is 7. It's 7. 63, 65, SIE, 7, 14, 24, 27.
Yeah.
That's 7 tests. So I'm like, oh, that's been a hell of a 4 months, man. That's crap.
You're almost done, and then
Almost done, man.
you don't have to ever look back again.
Yeah, it's true. I'll never have to take that crap.
Mike
again.
and Ike says, passed my second architecture license exam, 4 more to go. Congratulations and good luck.
Dude, congrats, man. It's nice. Like it feels so good when you pass. And it's so nice because then it's like done forever. You know, the continuing education for licensing is always a joke. Okay, so anyway, I put all my college notes and lectures into it and asked it to generate a study guide for me. You know, I've tried stuff like that too, and you have to really massage it because it likes to give you a short summary, and then it loses a lot of the real context, especially if you're taking like AP or college level classes. Often you get tested on the little details, the stuff that it'll like summary out. So, disclaimer time.
Drop the beat, Christian.
Well, make sure to go check out the Meet Kevin app to always get notified when we're live, wherever we're live. And even though I'm a licensed financial advisor, licensed real estate broker, and becoming a stockbroker, this video is neither personalized financial advice nor real estate advice for you. It is not tax, legal, or otherwise personalized advice tailored to you. This video provides generalized perspective information and commentary. Any third-party content I show should not be deemed endorsed by me. This video is not and shall never be deemed reasonably sufficient information for the purposes of evaluating a security or investment decision. Any links or promoted products or paid affiliations like StreamYard, matkevin.com/StreamYard, are products or services which we may benefit from promoting. I also operate an actively managed ETF and hold long positions in various securities, potentially including those mentioned in this video. However, I have no relationship to any issuers other than HouseHack, nor am I presently acting as a market maker.